if you ever try to actually watch a Trump speech, like where with no teleprompter and stuff, and I know you have, and I know I have, but like it's not even followable.
You want a pretty like steady rate of growth, which is why China's about to have a serious problem when its gigantic population boom enters retirement age.
Right, but even if you don't think it's happening now, eventually that growth rate is going to come up against the reality of carrying capacity. The universe having no objective meaning is a fact, in the same way that there being no God is a fact. It's just like there's no evidence to support it, so...
We can't prove God doesn't exist. It's more of a like... The metaphysical by definition can't be proven, so like commenting on whether or not it's real seems like kind of a
unfalsifiable hypothesis, therefore, you know, who knows? The fact there's no objective meaning means that you have power over what meaning is in your own existence, which kind of makes you your own God to an extent, which to me is way more appealing than just like moping around and being depressed about it. It seems like something to celebrate.
What's up, man? It's been a while since we've talked. In too long, I might say.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been like a year plus, I guess.
Yeah, but we've talked over DMs like 50, 60, 70 times in between then and now, right? So
oh yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. I know you talked to Demon Mama just the other day.
I did. Yeah, yesterday I talked to her.
What'd you all talk about? Was it just a general talk, or was there some specific subject?
I mean, it was just like a long, meandering conversation about a million things. I guess kind of mutual aid was a thing that was brought up.
Based?
It was, I don't think we actually used the term, but it was kind of, I think, one of the main thrusts of the conversation. But yeah, we ended up talking about a bunch of shit. Just like a bunch of, you know, vague, nebulous sort of, had like a very like, two people sitting at like a table in a kitchen kind of feel to it. I feel like kitchen table talk, coffee shop talk, sort of just like that kind of thing.
Oh, I think
that sort of vibe.
That's good for me, you know. I had the pleasure of talking to Anna Kasparian earlier this stream, and
my opening act.
Well, I really had to have the shoes on, you know, for that one, I think. Because you know she's
gotta polish them up too.
Yeah, exactly. But now I think we can take the shoes off, and we with the lads, we're here now, you know.
Oh yeah. So let me do my I wrote up a little intro thing because yesterday I was expected to do one and I didn't really have one, so I just but now I got one. I wrote it out. So my name is TJ Kirk, aka the Amazing Atheist, aka that guy who shoved a banana up his ass. I have been on YouTube since 2006. I am 1/3 of the Deep Fat Fried Podcast, a show by the uneducated for the uneducated, covering topics from trans trailblazers to sex with ghosts and aliens to bridges to Tucker Carlson. Pretty much no topic we won't deep fat fry while baked. I stream on a channel called TJ Does Life, which I'm simul-streaming this to. I post videos occasionally to what I used to think of as my main channel, The Amazing Atheist, but it's been neglected recently as I'm at work writing a book. Happy to announce my book is about you, VOWSH. It's called Coconuts and Horse Dicks, the VOWSH story.
Oh, thank you.
Actually.
Finally, my story's being told.
I know, right? Actually, I'm working on a sci-fi novel called Sex Bot Uprising, which is a smutty space opera dripping with sex and pulsating with violence, but really just a pretentious vehicle for my political opinions through allegory. So there you go. Oh, I'm also kind of lazily running for president, sort of, not really, but maybe for the memes. Let's see.
You've got more going on than I do right now. Jesus Christ. I like the title of your prospective work. You know, it really sums up sort of the themes that you're going to be going into it, just with the title.
Yeah, sex bots and an uprising, all in one book too. It's like, wow, how are you gonna do? I mean, it's mind blowing.
I fucking hate it when they surprise you with that stuff too, like Dune. You know, I thought it would just be about the desert. It turns out there's other shit. There's politics. They don't say that.
It's like title. There's barely even any mention of dunes in there. It's like they're like almost incidental to the plot. It's like, stop it.
Yeah, it'd be like naming the Shawshank Redemption like pipe. Like it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, okay.
I mean, true, there's a pipe at one point, but like,
yeah, you know. It's good to talk to you again, man. I
know, right?
Yeah, I've
after all these fucking horrible conversations in between, back to greatness. But no, hey, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
So last time I was here, you were ascendant. Now you're still ascendant, but like you were like, whoa, like crazy ascent going on. And seemed like everybody loved you. Now, not so much. It's got the division going on, right?
When was the last time we talked? Wait, what was
it was like a year plus ago. I mean, you had your haters and shit, but like it seemed like everybody loved VOWSH back then. Now it's like way more divisive. And I gotta say, you got some of the lamest goddamn haters I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, yeah, here's the problem. April 9th? When did wait, hold on. When did Bernie lose the primary? No, that would have been before that. This would have been before the Bernie or bust shit, really.
It was just after. I mean, I was a Bernie or buster at the time, you know. So it was just after Bernie had lost or was like evidently gonna lose. I don't remember exactly where it was in the timeline, but it wasn't looking good.
Yeah. Okay, that was March there. So that would have been a little while afterwards. Yeah.
Smidgen.
That was what did it too, by the way. Look, there are a lot of reasons people say they dislike me, but the opinion turned against me when I went hard in favor of choosing Biden over Trump. That was legitimately the thing that got a ton of people on the left to hate me, which is insane because it's like, of all the things that I've done and said, that's like the thing they're going to focus on. But apparently, yeah, that was it. That's what did it. So
I just feel like back in the day, you know, people always used to draw comparisons between us, which I never got because you're way more. I feel like you got little like essays going in your head, and I'm just kind of like, ha. But you know, like I don't know. I just feel like your haters are so whiny. Like I don't know. They like shouldn't they like be angry? Shouldn't it be like fuck VOWSH, piece of shit, motherfucker? But like it's just like I don't know. They like fling their tears at you. And it's like
I think a ton of it is like, and you're being very flattering to me here, by the way. I don't mind.
Oh yeah, I'm sucking your dick a little bit. I want the coconuts. What am I gonna do? That's like what I have to do to get the coconuts, right?
I'm glad that well, okay, you made the sensible choice.
You can coconut, just one. I just need one.
I need one for like a set prop somewhere back here, you know, so I can like bring it out in times of crisis. I think like actually reflecting on it, you know. I mean, there are people on the left and the right who don't like me, and I feel like I do get that whiny attitude too. I think a lot of it is because they have this. Their impression of me has been built up from a very lopsided caricature of the actual content that I produce. If you take a look at
pretty much, yeah. I mean, that was the same deal for me back in the height of the Amazing Atheist channel days. It was like so many people I felt like didn't really know what the channel was about, and it was just like the worst things I said out of context and then filtered through the the hater perspective and shit, and then force fed to a bunch of little hate piglets who just like yeah he's horrible.
It's it's you know. No I sympathize. I think there's like this industrial clip chimping complex where they don't actually, because I see sometimes the people who dislike me, they try to characterize my stream and they're like, you know, oh yeah, he's constantly affirming alt-right talking points by opposing like decolonization. It's like they have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. They describe positions I hold the opposite of and have never expressed like out loud. But
he's a racist,
transphobe,
transphobic racist VOWSH.
And they have all that in their head. And so what they think is, because that's what they think of me, they think, how has he not been canceled yet? Like, how is he still around? And I think the whining is this feeling of impotence that I continue to be, you know, a decently sized guy online.
Somewhere there's like a fucking somewhere there's like a little socialist club at some college somewhere where they're like, guys, we got to kick Greg out of the club.
Wow, that happened.
Well, he walked past VOWSH in a hallway, and VOWSH said hello, and he nodded back and said hi. So, he's canceled, guys. He's canceled.
This literally happened.
I know.
3 days ago with the Ruud. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The fucking Dutch youth group. There were socialist college groups that broke up over me as well. It's insane. But I don't know. I mean, what can I do? Like, just get off the internet? I mean, they have to act better.
So, you know, I mean, your fans aren't that much better. You know, they suck too, but
true.
They're also
fucking annoying.
Yeah, and like I feel like a lot of them too, just like either they're desperate to prove themselves against you, like, you know, VOWSH is pretty smart, but if I could get one over on him, then I'll be the smartest one. It's like, all right. And then others are just like, If you think Vaush, everybody in my chat like Vaush did this. This is Vaush, yeah, Vaush. TJ, interesting opinion you have on this subject matter, but Vaush really laid it out, and I was like, oh my god, Vaush. All right, so
I apologize on behalf of my
since I'm
fans.
here, yeah, they suck. Fuck them. Anyway, I like them. Come subscribe to me. But since you are the measure of objectivity, I do have 3 questions for you.
Yeah, hit me up. Kill me.
Real quick questions. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I have some actual subjects and shit that I want to talk about, but I do have 3 questions as the objective moral barometer of existence. Now, first, I'm gonna have to start with all right, look, I gotta take you to task, buddy.
Hit me up.
So when you told us to vote for Biden, you promised us a socialist utopia. This has not happened. How do you answer for these crimes?
Yeah, okay, listen. It's step 1 on a long staircase, okay? Yeah, okay. But the disappointment that we have in Biden will further people's revolutionary potential, okay? That's what we need to do. It's just step 1, okay? You have to set up the effigy so it may burn.
Setting the stage. All right. So this will be a controversial question, but I really want to answer this. Now, remember, you're a fucking well-spoken person on the internet, therefore you know everything about everything. So you're the person I have to go to for these kind of questions. Don't fucking kill the messenger. Don't get mad at me. Don't get upset. But how many black people must sign on for my N-word pass to be official?
Okay. Well, for an interpersonal N-word pass, you just need the one guy that you're with. But for like a general one,
yeah, general speak. Like, so if it's like, if 51% of black people say it's okay for me to say the N-word, can I then say the N-word?
If you can get 51% of all black people to say that you can say the N-word, then I think you absolutely...
What about just African Americans?
Yeah, well, I don't know if Africans would even care. I don't know, like, I don't even know if that word means anything generally to them.
Yeah,
right? If you can get, that's like 10 million, like, African Americans to sign off on you, I think you'd be morally obligated to say it at that point. I mean, clearly they want you to, you know?
Right. But then what if the other 49% were, like, dead set against it? Like, they hate it. Still.
Then race war? Intra race war. If you could
I
get,
I don't want that kind of responsibility on my shoulders. I don't know about this.
Yeah, that's democracy for you, though. They can whine and complain about it. They can take it up with the rest of their racial compatriots.
Another racially adjacent question. So Asian accents in the context of a story. Because I used to do an Asian impersonation, even though it was like legitimately extraordinarily funny. I stopped doing it because, I realized like that's probably fucked up because I wouldn't do that to like any other racial group, right? Like I wouldn't do, like I saw Steven Crowder doing like his weird thing where he was talking about black farmers and he's like, let's grow a Hennessy tree or whatever the fuck that was. And I'm like, that's the same thing I'm doing if I do this like stereotypical Asian voice. And I don't want to be that. But what about in the context of a story where the accent actually is important? Because, I was in Florida one time and this little racist Asian lady came up to me and started talking about like some of the black people in the area. I don't know why. I guess she just like, you're white, you're a good person to talk my racism to. And, she said something that I think is not as funny if I don't say it in her accent. She said, she was talking how black people don't like the colder temperature because I guess it was like unseasonably cold in Florida at that particular week I was there. And she was like, they not used to this cold. They from jungle, Mr. Kurt. I'm like, whoa. So, but if I just say like, and then she said, they're from the jungle, Mr. Kirk. That's not funny. That's just uncomfortable.
It definitely loses some of the comedic value. Okay, You're going to get me in actual trouble over this one. Holy shit. No. Not for what you said, for what I'm going to say. Okay?
All right.
So I DM in Dungeons and Dragons pretty often. I've been doing it for a long time. And here's the thing, okay? When you're doing voices for people, you can only, as a person without vocal training, you can only do so much to modulate the actual tone and cadence of your voice. Sometimes you can do accents, though. I mean, if you've got a million races, kobolds and tieflings or whatever, you're probably going to do accents, right? In my head, I think, okay, maybe this group, because they're from this region, they have kind of a French accent. It's arbitrary, but whatever. It differentiates them and makes it feel like a bigger world. The issue is that the line that you can draw on these accents is very blurry, okay? Spanish is fine, okay? But, like, Mexican? Well, that's a little bit different kind of Spanish accent, a little different, you know? And then what if, like, so you can do, like, an accent of a Polish person and a Russian person, fine. So that's in Asia. But if you go a little south of that, you have Mongolia. Can you do that? What about China? Honest to God, I have no idea what the answer to this is, because it feels like morally you should be able to do an accent for any ethnic group in the world, as long as you're not doing it to make fun of that ethnic group. But pragmatically, nobody is going to recognize that distinction. It's like when people make, like, Indian accents or whatever. You can do that in a non-mocking way, but like, in media, it's always done in a mocking way. So how do you, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like really rough. It's but you can do
Yeah,
it with
I don't know
other
either.
groups. If
That's
you
what I'm asking you. You're
French,
supposed to know the damn answer to this question. You know, here you are like, I don't know. Well, you know.
if you have a French coworker, then you
Yeah.
can, and you're like, oh yeah, he said like this. Like, you can do that if you want. But if you have an Indian coworker, you cannot make their accent. Like, you can't do it. Even if you're not making fun of them, even if you're just imitating them, the same way you imitate any other person's, like, cadence. I don't know. I feel like reverse racism has gone too far. That's my real solution. That's my take on this.
There you go. Okay, so now I have a list of disagreements.
Oh shit. All right, hit me up.
All right, so the first, I'm going to start with a relatively benign one. There was a guy on your stream, I don't remember who the fuck it was. One of these dipshits you're always fucking arguing with. But he kept saying cliques, which is the proper pronunciation of the word. And your whole chat was like, clique, you see, clique, that's literally how it's supposed to be said.
This is a Canadian?
So, I don't remember. I don't remember who the fuck it was. Some guy.
Huh.
But he kept saying cliques, and that's literally, go look it up. It's the fucking pronunciation of the goddamn word. Social clique. It's not a clique. It's a clique. Everyone's wrong.
That sounds so fucking weird, though.
It's true. It's fucking true, though. Go look it up. Look it up. It's anyway.
It sounds like calling it a GIF. Like, that's what this sounds like to me. Like some linguistic prescriptivism that I don't know.
Well,
man.
you know, I mean, if you want to say language is like a democratic process where we can all, you know, do that, and I'm open to that, but still, the dude was right. Okay, the no true socialist fallacy. I was watching another time when you were arguing with some guy, and I almost said dipshit, but I was nice to him. I said guy. You're arguing with somebody, and it was like, you do this, I guess, somewhat frequently, kind of like, this person's not a socialist because this person's not a socialist because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it just strikes me as fallacious because it's just so, like, it's such a broad and all-encompassing fucking term. You know what I mean? Like, so the way I've explained it to my chat is this, right? So if I was to say the word like flower, and I tell everyone in the room to visualize a flower, right? No one's looking at the same thing in their head, right?
Right.
Some people are seeing a red rose. Some people are seeing a fucking yellow daisy. Some people are seeing like a bag of fucking white flour. It doesn't, like, you know, even if I tell them, you know, so who's got the right flower in their head? Nobody, right? And that's a simple word corresponding to like a tangible object in space and time that can be referenced. Whereas like a concept like socialism, so fucking complex, convoluted, so many different ideas about what that entails. Like, I don't really understand how you can be like, that person's not a socialist. I mean, the most you could say is like, by any definition, I would recognize they're not a socialist.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I'm not a linguistic prescriptivist. I do think that there's some variance to how we use these terms, you know? When I think of socialist, I think of the two big criteria to me are decommodification and democratic economies, you know? But obviously there are socialists who have had varying opinions and all that stuff, you know? And some people call me not a socialist because I think market socialism is a good thing to jump in on, but I think that's dumb because
before,
that's just
when I was doing the pre-game to this stream, a bunch of people were like, VOWSH is a lib, VOWSH is a lib, VOWSH is a lib, VOWSH is a lib. I'm like, shut up. It's not even a refutation of anything anyway. Like, it's just like, I slap him with a label. Now he's wrong. It's like, fuck you. Where's your argument, bitch?
I think that labels aren't really good at finding what's true or not. Labels are more about who you want to be associated with or not, you know? So in my mind, like, I don't know if there's a set definition of socialist. I just know that I don't want to be included in whatever social group like Stalinists or China defenders or Assad defenders are a part of. So like maybe you could believe in the two criteria for socialism for socialism that I believe in, but also be like a defender of China, in which case, honestly, I still don't want to be associated with you. I guess it is like gatekeeping to an extent, and I don't generally like gatekeeping. We should probably focus on the ideas, right? Like
I don't even really care about the
good or that
gatekeeping
bad?
aspect of it at all. Like, as far as I'm concerned, gatekeep all you want, but I guess my thing was just like socialism as a term is just so broad that I don't really see how you can really gatekeep from the term.
Yeah, it is for capitalism too, right? I mean, technically, we live under laissez-faire capitalism, which believes in like an unregulated free market. That's like the ideological root, but that's obviously not what we live in. There's a hugely complex interchange between the state and global trade and NGOs and corporations. And if you like, do you think no one points at this and goes like, well, this isn't real capitalism, except for when they talk about corporatism, which is stupid because that's not what corporatism means, and also that's just what capitalism is.
I feel like when you mostly see people misascribing capitalism, it's usually like when they start breaking out some, and I talked to Demon Mom about this too, but it was like this fanciful Adam Smith invisible hand, like it's like this very like they talk about modern day global capitalism in terms of like, and then old Jed realized the town needed hammers, and that's when he opened Jed's hammer shop. It's like
right,
very idealized and Mayberry and shit.
Or when they act
that's what
like
capitalism is.
Capitalism invented the idea of working for things, like everyone's just sitting around. Yeah.
You'll love this so much. This is gonna be like the syrup that you can just like pour on your pancakes in the morning. I was arguing with a guy like a month ago. He slid into my DMs and he was like one of these like, you used to be good, but now you a liberal cuck bitch or whatever kind of guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, I'm talking to him and he's laying the whole spiel on me, the conservative shit. And he mentions like the elites. I'm like, yeah, the elites. We got some common ground here, right? I also fucking detest the elites that rule us. So yeah, like that's why I support, taxing them. He's like, tax the rich that is part of their plan. It's part of their plan, dude.
The thing they don't. The thing
is it?
They don't.
It seems like the thing they're most trying to avoid, but
the thing they don't get.
I gotta tell you why this.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
I gotta tell you what his reasoning was when I fucking interrogated about this. The rich want to be taxed because then we're gonna tax them, right? And then we're gonna do all this social progress with their money and improve all of our lives. And that's going to cause us to stop paying attention to what they're really doing. I don't know.
If things get too good, then we'll... Okay.
Yeah. Society will be too good and we'll just stop hating them. Oh no.
I honestly think that when a lot of like conservatives talk about the elites, they don't actually mean wealthy people, even though wealthy people are empirically on top of virtually every system in existence. And what they're actually talking about is some kind of invisible, like QAnon adjacent cabal, which sometimes includes very wealthy people, but not like as a group. Because I've seen them include journalists in that group. Most journalists are not like Tucker Carlson or Anderson Cooper. Most journalists are fresh out of college grads who are desperately trying to make a living in like a studio apartment while running to and from their job, like desperately trying not to break their camera equipment because they know it'll come out of their pay. That's your average journalist. Many of them are independent. Like this is not like an elite class, but they talk about journalists as a group, as though they're part of this elite. So I think to them, taxing the rich is, if anything, a way of hampering the power of what they consider to be the most powerful non-elite groups. The
more I talked to him, the more I got the impression that it was like, he's against the current crop of rich ruling elites, but it's not their enormous wealth and political power is not the problem. It's just the nature of this specific group of them. They're just bad. We just need to clear them out, get some new ultra rich billionaires in there, but like some good ones.
It's funny because that is a very liberal mindset.
I know, right?
Extremely liberal perspective.
I should let them know next time because you're right.
No, that's I mean, it's a pretty common way of thinking, I would say. It's part of capitalist realism, right? You can't imagine a different system. You can only imagine different people in charge of that system, and your imagination never extends beyond that.
I feel like the rich people are just running so many fucking psyops on. I think conservatism in general is just like a psyop against the poor. It's just like a giant
unironically,
psyop.
Literally,
yeah,
unironically, yeah. Modern conservative social issues were manufactured. Abortion was not a conservative line until I think the 1980s in America.
It's not even in the Bible, by the way.
Not even mentioned.
Actually, even the few things you can even infer from the Bible would kind of indicate that it's okay, because there's like a verse about there actually is a reference to abortion in the Bible, but it's not in a negative. It just talks about her drinking the bitter water, which is,
right, your yeet juice, your fetus juice.
Right, and and then there was like another verse where if someone strikes a woman and kills the fetus, he's like ordered to pay a fine. It's not treated like a murder. So yeah, the Bible does not seem to have this idea that a fetus is the same thing as a full-fledged person. So they basically pulled that idea right out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, and that's one of their most effective strategies now for moving people, people who would otherwise be like blue dog Democrats, like they would be maybe not socially progressive, but they'd want to keep their unions. Maybe these people aren't willing to vote red if they disagree with the Democratic Party on gay shit, but if they disagree on the baby murder holocaust or whatever the fuck else, then you can get people who are otherwise pretty left-leaning to vote red.
Well, I have like conservatives in my family. I live in Louisiana and stuff, so I mean it's a red state. I know a lot of red people, and like the stuff that is of concern to them is kind of mind-blowing to me, because it really just shows me that this is not a case of two people. Like if I'm talking about like a conservative family member or something, and there's like a disagreement, it never feels like we agree on the facts, but we have different interpretations. It always feels like they're speaking from some crazy alternate reality that just flat out does not fucking exist. And I'm just like, who has like brainwashed you into thinking this is even going on right now?
Well, that's the goal, right?
The stuff they're concerned with is just so bizarre to me, because I'm looking at a world where there's huge drought affecting pretty much the western third of the country. There's this looming threat of climate migration. There's sea level rise. That's just the climate stuff. And then there's like social upheavals, labor shortages of goods, shortages of everything. Massive labor unrest. Wealth disparity continues to just grow and grow unchecked. Seeing insect die off, animal die off, environmental ecological collapses going on. And all the other problems that we fucking could sit here all day opining about. But, that's all that stuff is happening. And then I talk to like a conservative, and it's like trans in the bathroom.
Right. Yeah. Critical race theory in our schools.
Haitians. You see what Biden's doing with these Haitians? You seen what Biden's doing? He's letting all these Haitians in. It's like, dude, Biden could let in every single fucking Haitian and store them up in like Wyoming or something, and your ass would be none the wiser that it even fucking happened. Okay.
Literally. Yeah. Just fucking, yeah, absolutely. I wish they brought every Haitian in, because that island is cursed anyway. Just, yeah.
Fuck that.
Bring them the fuck in here.
No, that's one thing I always agree. I mean, I never understood people like Trump's like, hey, Haiti's a shithole. It's like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Yes, it is a shithole. Get them out. Save them. Come to America. Come to Wyoming.
You're right. The rest of the world is a shithole. Let's bring them to the best place on earth, baby.
Right. Everywhere, all the places you guys think are shitholes totally are. That's why we got to save those people. Let me ask you this. If you're you got a boat and you see people out stuck at sea and they're drowning. Help us. You let them on the boat. Same deal.
Well,
save them.
Really depends on whether you're a conservative or not.
There's like, fuck them.
Well,
our resources are low. It's like you have a giant. You're like literally eating a fucking.
It's fear-based. Platter. It always is fear-based. That at the root of the conservative mindset, it is always no matter what. That's why
but here's what I don't get about that. Okay, I mean, I hate to interrupt and shit, but like, I just want to, the fear-based thing. I have a clarifying question. I get that it's fear-based, but isn't the idea of complete and total ecological collapse a little fucking minute bit scarier than fucking trans people in the bathroom?
That's why they can't talk about it, right? No, so obviously, yeah, for us, that is the case, right? But the fear has to be like irrational. For us, our fear of climate change is rational. The data points to it. We know what's going to happen. It's exceedingly clear. It seems virtually inevitable now. So our fear is a genuine concern. But for them, you know, you can move people away from almost any good position if you convince them there's something to be terrified coming from the opposite direction. I feel like there are a couple of things this stems from. One of them is religiosity, because I think that if you believe that there's a heaven, you can get away with excusing a lot of bullshit on earth. Like, the evangelicals in this country are the most proportionally powerful political bloc outside of the ultra-wealthy. And they literally believe in this death cult, Jews to Israel, so we all get raptured within the next few years. And take a look at the media they produce, too. They don't think it's happening in 200 years. They don't think it's happening in 100 years. They think it's happening right fucking now. They think
it's always imminent.
Always imminent.
Perpetually imminent, yep.
Constantly imminent, which means that a significant portion of our country's voter bloc and an even larger portion of our business and like wealthy representatives are literal death cultists who do not believe the material world that exists right now will continue to exist within a few years. So how the fuck are we supposed to trust them to vote on anything even remotely reasonable? We can't. They live in a different world. It's antithetical to democracy. It's anathema to democracy. You can't do it.
Well, that's why I've always considered myself to be not just an atheist, but an anti-theist. I don't know if you would go that far.
No, absolutely. No, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
No, I'm, you know, I believe when I talk about conservatives running psyops on poor people, the first one was Christianity. Maybe not the first one, but the first one, the foundation of modern society, I guess, in a lot of respects, Christianity, right?
Every time I say this, some people in my chat get triggered, but it's 100% true.
I'm sorry,
guys,
but
you
look,
cannot.
I mean, it's literally, think about but think about the Christian messaging from this perspective. People who are fucking automatic. Oh, no. Wait, but listen, think about this. What is the central tenet, the message of Christianity? Christianity is basically designed to take all of the bad feelings you have against the people who hoard wealth and power for themselves. And it's made to, like, it's basically telling you, don't be pissed at them, or do be pissed at them, but don't expect any of that in this life, right? This life isn't fair, and the rich people get it all. But
you'll be rewarded in the kingdom of heaven.
As soon as you're dead and they're dead, you're going to see a sharp change in fortune. They're going to be down there roasting in hell, for it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. You'll be up there in the paradise looking down at them and laughing.
I want to be clear,
and they'll
too.
Be down there. I shouldn't have been so greedy. No.
I don't think every Christian is bad or like dumb or whatever. It's just there are two layers to this, right? One of them is, if you can't agree on which reality you live in, you can't make good decisions morally and pragmatically about that reality. And the other is that, like, metaphysically or metaethically, religion can allow you to justify things you could never justify, like, normatively, you know? So
I think it pacifies people, though. Like, my problem with Christianity is its pacification power.
Yeah. Well, no, for sure. And historically, that has absolutely been what it has done. Yeah. And it you know, if you keep your nose down, the Protestant work ethic encourages you, if you work very, very hard, which coincidentally makes a lot of money for the people above you, of course, you're more likely to go to heaven. All your rewards come in the afterlife, which is very convenient for the mercantile and priest class that have to give you nothing during your life. And metaethically, like, if a person believes God says X or Y, how the fuck am I supposed to convince them that's not the case? Like, how do I, a mere human, possibly mount a counter argument against somebody whose belief is religiously justified? If you think that, like, you know, being gay is wrong because it's bad in the Bible or whatever, how the fuck can I make an argument? I can't make an argument from pragmatism because you don't care. I can't make an argument from mental health or medicine because that doesn't matter either. It's just taken for granted, which means I lose the ability to convince people or move them over. It might as well be a conspiracy or a cult.
Yeah, I mean, and look, that's one of the main objections I've always had against religious dogma is that it's like a shortcut to a bad idea. You know, it's like you don't have to have any more justification than that, because once you've said that the moral authority that controls all of reality is on your side, like there's literally no arguing with you. You could take any position, and it could be horrible. You know, it's like manifest destiny, right?
Yeah.
God has declared it. I mean, there's no arguing with God. So my fucking shortcut is God's fucking phony. You're the one who wants to expand westward, you son of a bitch. Don't put it off on God. But yeah, I mean, people continue to use the God Band-Aid to this day, and you know, it's like whatever. I'm against it.
Well, that's what QAnon is. QAnon is almost entirely evangelicals. They all slurped up all the flat earthers and stuff, you know, all the flat earthers and the reptilian overlord types, and turned it into one big mega conspiracy that's largely backed by evangelicals, in which Trump is essentially just the divine representative of the earthly rapture, you know, much in the same way that the rapture is supposed to cleanse earth of the sinful and ascend those who have not been to heaven. The storm is supposed to be like God's will made manifest through Trump as he fights against the deep state, and in one great revolutionary action kills or displaces all of the non-faithful, all the liberals and Democrats and homosexuals from the country, and if essentially enacts, you know, like, depending on who you talk to, either a perfect, like, isolationist state or a perfect isolationist ethno-state. It is the rapture. It's the exact same thing as the rapture. It's just done through political means instead of spiritual.
No, 100%. I mean, Trump to them is, it's almost like you need religion to justify him, because they're like, well, he's an imperfect servant. It's like, he's incoherent is what he is. People talk about like, well, Biden's incoherent. It's like, you guys forget about Trump, because if you ever try to actually watch a Trump speech, like where with no teleprompter and stuff, and I know you have, and I know I have, but like, it's not even followable. It doesn't even have a coherent, like, literally just, and I'm a fucking rambly motherfucker myself, so I guess I kind of get it, but like, he'll fucking start a sentence in one place, touch upon like 9 different topics disjointedly, say nothing about any of them, and then arrive at the end of the sentence, and then the crowd will be sitting there just like kind of looking at him like they don't know what the fuck he's saying, and then he'll just throw out a catchphrase really quick to be like, and that's why we got to drain the swamp, and then
get him back in, bring him back in.
Like, yeah, slogan. But like, most of the speech is just rambling, incoherent gibberish. So it's like you almost have to like look at him like he's talking in tongues. Like they used to.
No, legitimately.
In certain cultures, they think like
about feelings. Yeah.
Like mentally deficient people, or whatever the fucking term is now. They used to look at that as like, oh, well, they're touched by God, and that's why they're doing all this inane gibbering and stuff, because God is speaking through them. And I think they see that in Trump. They're just like, yeah, connect the dots.
We saw a speech from Trump just a little bit ago, and the dude talked for an hour and a half, and the biggest applause he got was when I'm not kidding, he said, woke is bad. That was literally it, and that got the biggest applause. Nothing else that he said about politics got anywhere near that amount of approval. But that one 3-word sentence was what won over the entire audience. I mean, we're like literal fucking infant brains here, like baby scold cretins in that audience.
Woke
but that's
bad.
the fucking
woke bad.
Woke bad. No, true. The biggest thing I'm mad about that I believed delusionally while growing up is that you could find people who believe in something superstitious or irrational, like a religious person or like a cultist or whatever, and you could argue them out of that position using the logic within that system. But I have to ask.
I need your opinion as a lawyer, Vaush, because I know you're a world famous attorney. Maybe you could help consult with me on this. So now that it's pretty much demonstrated that Trump did sedition and stuff, is it now okay to say hang Trump, or should I keep that one in the back pocket for now?
Oh, I don't know. Hey, listen, as long as you don't say it on my channel and don't implicate me with
I just did
any document.
Yeah, it's asking,
Yeah, it's just don't implicate me in any documents, and say in Roblox afterwards, and I think you might be okay.
In Roblox,
of course,
sedition. The Minecraft one doesn't work anymore. They know about that.
Sedition is or it's high treason is punishable by death in the United States, right?
Right. So I mean, it's just the prescribed penalty, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it's basically just like saying lock them up from 5 to 10 years.
I mean, Ted Nugent held up an AK-47 and said Hillary Clinton can suck on this. Barack Obama can suck on this. It seems like it should be okay. I don't know.
Cops don't arrest people like Ted,
That's true.
Yeah, they all fucking agree with him. Remember when did he shit his pants to avoid
for a minute? Then
he shit his pants to avoid going to war, right?
Yeah, that was true. Or at least he said it. I mean,
that's fucking amazing.
He either fucking did that or thought it was a good story to tell about him dodging the draft.
Which is worse?
But I don't know. Actually shitting your pants or thinking that a story wherein you shit your pants is a good story. I don't know.
At least if you actually did it.
It's entertaining. Like, he should own.
Being honest.
You know what? I'd respect if he still owned up to this day. Like, yeah, I shit my pants to avoid going to war.
I mean,
it's kind of tough. It contradicts the tough guy image he's going for at this point.
If he really did it, though, then I appreciate how honest he was. He didn't make up some like some bullshit after the fact. He just
there was no bone spurs. He just like, look, I shit my pants. Just that's how I roll. Do you want a pants shitter over there fighting for this country? I don't think so.
I wanted to say though, because I've talked to like a couple QAnon types, and the frustration with like trying to talk to people within their own logic. I used to believe back in my like earlier atheist days that like if you just read the Bible really good as an atheist, you could like convince people of your beliefs.
The Bible has very little to do with their beliefs at this point.
Yeah, I know. There's like nothing. It's like a couple of lines. It's funny to me that like the idea
that God so loved the world that he gave his only blah 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 blah. So that, and just like they have like a few little rote passages they reference and stuff. John 3:16, Leviticus this, fucking Matthew that, but they don't. I mean, for the most part, it's just like window dressing for conservative political machinations.
The idea that the mainstream understanding of Trump isn't that he is the Antichrist is unbelievable to me. He's like the wealthy, like bloated, fucking corrupt, obviously narcissistic, antagonistic businessman who's like one self-admitted positive characteristic is that he can like talk people up a good game. He likes making deals. That's literally the thing everyone knows about Satan. It's that he likes making deals. That's the number one fucking thing.
Sign on the dotted line and it's all yours.
But no Christian believes that. Not one.
I have a cousin, I guess. I still have her, I guess. I don't know. I haven't seen my cousins from this side of the family in a long time. But on my father's side, it was around the time that Hillary and Barack were campaigning against each other in the primaries back in 12 or something. Or 2008. I guess around 2007, 2008. But anyway, my cousin was like, I can't wait for Hillary to win the nomination. I'm like, why? Because she's not liberal or whatever. She's very, very fucking right-wing conservative. And she's like, because she's the Antichrist, and then the end times can finally happen. It's like,
And how the fuck do you talk to someone like that? Like, what arguments can you make?
Think about how I feel being related to that. Like, we share genes, huh? Okay, well, I'm gonna go cry over here. I'll see you later.
There's nothing. There's just nothing to say. It's just, well, that's
anyway. You're not.
The
you
big
fucking
gulf.
you sidetracked me. I'm on a disagreement list here.
Right,
gambling.
right.
You said you're against gambling universally, every context, no gambling. What the fuck, Vaush?
No, I
the fuck, Vaush?
Fucking hate gambling. I don't understand why. Like, first of all,
I'm a degenerate gambler, dude. I love to gamble. Now, whatever. I don't do it that often, but I like to go to a casino every now and then. I don't see why my ass, because some other stupid son of a bitch can't fucking control himself. I can't go to the casino every now and again, enjoy the fucking crab buffet, and fucking play a fucking couple goddamn hours of roulette or something. You know what I mean?
Look, you can have a crab buffet if you want, and if you want to do roulette, can't you do it with like fun tokens or something? Can't you do it with like, honest to God, if you could buy tokens that can't be exchanged for currency, that might fucking do it. Because then people,
I got a great idea for a new thrill ride, Vaush. It's like a roller coaster made of like fluffy pillows that goes 2 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, we don't let poor people sell their organs either. So clearly the state's invested in keeping people from making some bad decisions.
I mean, sure, that's fine, I guess. But like, I'm not making the bad decision, I mean, I guess I am, but like in moderation, right?
I don't.
What happened? What
there
happened
has
to freedom,
to be
Vaush?
something.
What
Okay, wait.
happened to freedom?
Maybe we should go step by step. Okay, would you be cool with getting rid of like loot boxes and like randomized like payout rewards in video games and stuff like that?
Covertly sneaking gambling as a mechanic into a children's game is obviously disgusting.
Okay,
and should not be happening.
okay. That's
Sure.
step. Okay. I'm glad we can agree on
agree.
that.
We're step one. I am walking. We're holding hands. We took the step together. All right. I'm with you with that step. All right. Step two.
Okay. So we can agree on that at least. Okay.
We got that.
Okay. What about gambling advertisements? Do we agree that advertisements for gambling, much in the way that like alcohol and cigarette advertisements, like they shouldn't be we can't have cigarette advertisements at all, right? Not on TV, but for alcohol we can. They just can't be targeted at children.
Magazines still allow cigarette. I think you can still have print cigarette ads, but you can't have television cigarette ads.
Okay.
And I think with alcohol, you can have alcohol ads, but strangely enough, you cannot show people actually drinking the alcohol.
Is that
so? Like, if you ever
right. I guess that doesn't ever.
If you ever watch an alcohol ad, you'll notice that no one ever actually takes a sip. Which is a very weird rule, but
in this country.
You know, they'll show you a guy holding a beer, and then all of a sudden, like all these attractive women appear around him. That's more of a trope of like the 90s. You don't really see that too much anymore. But like, you know, the idea is your life is going to be way more cool and interesting if you got this alcohol. But they don't ever actually show the person drinking it. But then again, pretty much all advertising is that your life is going to be somehow just like magically better, usually in ways that have very little connection to the product. I guess the idea is that, you know, if you go to the bar, you get drunk, and, you know, maybe you go home with somebody that night or something. I guess that's the connection there. But yeah, as far as like advertise, I mean, I never really fucking, I guess that I'm not really against cigarettes being advertised on TV, because they're already advertised all over the place anyway, just covertly, like in media, because you always see the cool character in the, and I realized that when I quit smoking like, a year and a half ago, or I quit in June of 2020. So I don't know. That's probably not been a year and a half. I guess it's like a year and some change. But one thing I realized is just how much smoking there is, like prevalent throughout all media. Because like when you quit smoking and you're trying not to think about cigarettes,
then it would be
and you're trying not to want cigarettes, so you see like, wow, cigarettes are still fucking everywhere. All over media, every character, every fucking TV show, characters you don't even think of as smokers, you start to realize, oh, they smoke, don't they? You know, after the fucking, you know, action hero kicks like 50,000 asses and does all kinds of cardio, he fucking smokes a cigarette. It's like, okay.
This is what I've said about going vegan too. That if going vegan as one person is agony, but going vegan as a whole country, it's probably pretty easy, right? Because that means
it would be easier because there's going to be a lot of alternatives, and there's going to be
they're all because they're all investing in that. If you go to the grocery store, it's all food that you can eat. It's not like you have to pick out like the 10% of shit that's good for you. You can get anything and everything, and you never see people eating meat or anything like that. So it's very easy to avoid relapsing. It's very easy to keep the vegan diet or whatever.
I think though that it's kind of naive to ban cigarette advertising, because the appeal of cigarettes is not an advertisement that you saw. The appeal of cigarettes is the same thing that's the appeal of pretty much any drug, that it will help be an escape from reality, that it's going to relieve stress or create some sort of new or different mindset or experience. You know, so I don't even know that I'm necessarily with you on banning cigarette ads.
Suck.
Cigarettes are pretty shitty.
You know why there's the whole like media, like the completely manufactured media stereotype of cigarettes making you look cool? It's because that's all they fucking have. They don't have to do that for weed. Weed, when you smoke it, will get you high. Cigarettes don't do shit except give you the teeniest fucking buzz that you could get from coffee.
Yeah, nicotine is like a minor psychotropic drug or whatever.
Yeah, so they have to be like, okay, well, it doesn't feel like anything and it kills you, but you like look super cool, dude. And
you look good. And it's super addictive.
Yeah, it's
You're
like
just compelled to do it mindlessly, and you have to smell like shit and do it like 50 times a day.
Yeah, it'll make inside of your house yellow, your car yellow, your teeth yellow.
Stress relief, though. It is like they've done studies where it shows that like cigarettes can actually, nicotine has a unique property that not many drugs have. If you puff it a certain way, like if you take a cigarette and you puff it quick, like that, it gives you energy. if you take long, slow drags, it relaxes you. And smokers, even if they don't consciously realize it, do realize it on a subconscious level. And if you look, if someone's like super stressed out and they fucking go for a cigarette, but if it's like they're like tired in the morning or something, it's, you know. So there is an effect there, and I mean, but it's mostly just like you become addicted to something, and now, you know, it's like almost an illusion because it's whatever stress you already have coupled with your physical dependency on this drug. And if you get the drug, you feel a little better, but you don't actually feel better. You're just relieving the symptoms of addiction.
Yeah.
If
you've ever
it's kind of
had
insidious in that way.
a nervous tick, you've actually experienced the same psychological effect. If there's like a fingernail that you tend to pick at, or like some part of your body that you tend to like flick or scratch, or just any other errant thing people tend to do when anxious or bored, if you feel like you want to do that and consciously make an effort not to do that, stimming, you're going to experience essentially the same thing that people with any other kind of addiction feel, in addition to the chemical effects. Obviously nicotine makes it worse, but I think the worst part is it's not always the nicotine, right? It's just that you get so used to something that your brain just convinces you that something will go wrong if you can't feel it. I've felt that way about biting my nails back when I used to bite my nails years ago, and it's biting your fucking nails. But it doesn't. There's nothing chemical to that. It doesn't. It's completely just psychological.
Right. But I broadly, I guess, support people's right to do whatever drug they want.
Okay, wait. Well, me too. But wait, hold on. I had to ask because I got sidetracked there. What about the lottery? I'm in favor of banning the lottery because in practice, all it does is it supplements state taxes by taxing poor people who don't understand probability. It just seems like the only thing it does is one dude gets to win and like 500,000 people just get to pay extra taxes that year. And they're usually the poorest wretches who don't understand the math on these things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's like I've heard it called a stupidity tax because, you know, it really is for people who are just like, you don't understand just how fucking stacked against you the odds are. Now, that being said, I'm kind of an idiot myself because I don't typically play the lottery, but if it's really high, I'll be like, you know, I'll pay to just fantasize for a minute. Like, what if I did win? What would I do? But yeah, for the most part,
it's Squid Game.
I don't know.
It is. It's Squid Game.
I don't know that the government should be running a gambling operation.
Yeah,
so
the fact that the government does
I'd say I could say it'd probably go away. Now, if someone wanted to do a private lottery, I don't think I'd fucking put any roadblocks in their way. But
you could never ban it as a concept because it is technically a lottery. If everyone like puts 20 in the hat and like throws a like pair of keys in there, whoever. Yeah.
You know, it's just like, hey, someone's gonna get lucky. You know, maybe it'll be you, but probably not. You should probably recognize that the odds are not in your fucking favor.
The state, probably not the entity that should be doing that at the very least.
Right. I mean, like it's like, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't really think the state should be involved in a gambling operation. I think it's pretty fair to say they should.
The thing that gets me, I'm in favor of the decriminalization of all drugs because I think that it leads to better outcomes, you know? And I think drugs offer something unique. Even ones I would never recommend people take, like heroin or meth, they do offer a conscious experience that can't be matched with other like replicate. Like there's nothing else quite like it. But a lot of gambling related stuff to me seems like just a way of bleeding people out mathematically for an experience that they could conceivably get from other things. If risk-taking is the thing that excites you, there are many ways to enable that without an institution that, like, let's be fair, is mostly funded by people who, like pensioners who spend all their retirement money like sitting there with like the IV drip hooked up to their arm at the slot machine. Like that shit depresses me. And while I do think people should be able to make like mistakes on their own, I don't think the state can nanny everyone.
But think about like what kind of thrill is really available to an elderly person like that, though. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
but like that's so
they can't go on a roller coaster. They can't go on a fucking thrill ride of any kind. They can't fucking truly. They're probably not able to travel all that much. You know, like.
They can't even bet on real things happening. Like they're not even betting on presidential races or whatever. It's like slots. Like you can't win slots. The math is against you. You can't. You can't do it. They code those machines to not work.
Yeah. Sometimes you win. Hey, look. The thing about odds is, you know, sometimes you're the fucking lucky person. You know, or you're the person who gets the payout. Now you're probably going to play it all back in anyway, but.
Okay, I'm going to take this immediately to the most hyperbolized place we can. And I got to ask you, would you be okay with unironic real-life Squid Game shit? Like, you get to sign a bodily autonomy waiver, 100 of you, one of you gets to win, the other 99 of you sign the contract. Everything that happens in here is legal. Do you think
I've not seen Squid Games, so I'm not like super familiar. I mean, like it's like one of those things. It's like, it's so popular, I don't want to see it until like some time has passed. But I don't know. I just have like a really like contrarian strain of like, even if I know something's good, it's like, well, it's too popular, so I don't want to watch it. But
no, I
definitely should watch the fucking thing. But
like
the premise is that, you know, they sign up to do these fucking crazy games where people die and shit, I guess. And
it's basically sign a contract to enter a series of games. You lose, you die, but if you win, you get a gajillion dollars, you know?
So it's like extreme gambling where, you know, you're betting your life, basically.
It's the concept, because if you sign the form before going in, I mean, right now, you can't sign your life away in this country. But hypothetically, if somebody wanted to do that, do you think that should be something the state should allow?
I think that, to me, would depend on the context of the society, because in a society where people are...
Okay, except for the military. Chat, yes, okay, the military, thank you. You know what the fuck I mean, Jesus Christ. Okay, sorry.
But I mean, like in a society where people were herded into like, sort of like, well, I'm assuming that like desperation drives people to sign these contracts. I mean, really, it's pretty much coercive, right? But if if you're talking about a hypothetical civilization where, you know, people did not have like some massive debt to escape, and they were literally just doing it for, like, let's say there's like a strong social safety net at the bottom of our society, still means that you're getting food, clothing, shelter, and basic necessities taken care of. And there's no like poverty or homelessness or anything like that. So basically like a utopian society. If there's still people in that context that wanted to do it, I would say, okay. But
that's
in the context of a coercive society where people would be driven to it by desperation, no, I don't think so.
That's really interesting. I didn't expect that answer. So for you, the ability to sign your life away to blood sports is not something you necessarily have an issue with people doing. You just have to, you want it to be for the glory. You want it to be so that...
Well, I'm just saying, if someone's value system is such that that's what they want, if they believe that if they believe that thrill is worth the experience, even knowing and understanding that risk, then I don't really see how it'd be my place to stop them. But if they're driven to it by desperation...
Oh, wait, hold on. My OBS is taking a shit. 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
That doesn't happen very often. It should reconnect in one... Okay, there we go. Just give it a second. They'll all see me again.
Sure thing.
Sorry, that doesn't happen normally.
It's all good.
The internet's been really fucky up here ever since the big storm that hit Seattle. It's been a little inconsistent.
We're basically talking about a hypothetical utopia. So, I mean, effectively, my answer is no. I don't think people should be allowed to do that.
All right. I'm interested because this is the same logic that people use to argue that dueling should be legal. That if two people want to fight to the death, that they should have the right to without the state intervening. Now, as far as I can tell, the only reason the state doesn't want legal dueling is because, A, it's really hard to prove after the fact whether a person who's been shot consented to it with a duel, or if they were simply shot and the person who shot them is just saying, oh yeah, bro, he wanted it. And secondly, because it significantly decreases the human population, which we need to work. I think that quite a few people died to duels back in the day.
Well, I mean, not as many as you'd think. There was like a lot of stopgap measures that were designed to like prevent an unnecessary preponderance of deaths.
First blood from sword, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like most of them didn't even get to like, I mean, like they did a lot of pomp and circumstance that's kind of designed to make you go like, hey, let's just work this out because, you know, this is stupid. But yeah, I mean, people did die in duels. And as far as duels go, I mean, like, I think there's probably better fucking means of conflict resolution at this point. I don't necessarily think society should give their blessing to duels.
Especially since, like, I don't know. Also, I don't want to like look like a pussy. What if somebody challenges me to a duel and I'm like, what the fuck? I want to live. Wait, why? And they're like, fucking duel me, bro.
I don't want to live in a society where I have to like look bitch made if I don't respond to every
like,
asshole that wants to duel.
If you want to,
I don't know.
if you want to die,
why do I gotta risk? A lot of people hate my ass. I mean, like, Vaush, you know, you'd be getting challenged to so many fucking duels, dude.
God.
You don't want that.
Like every day. I don't want to deal with that. Fuck that. If you want to die, shoot yourself. I want to live. I don't care enough about you to risk my life fighting you. Fuck you. But they would be, dude, duel me, bro. Dude, soy, beta. That would be the fucking soy. It would. They would be following you around. Dude, you're so soy, bro. And they've got like a fucking 18th century dueling pistol that they're just kind of like jiggling around around the trigger guard, you know? God damn it. Oh, yeah.
All right,
okay.
Well, what about a game? What about gambling in a game of skill? So you don't like the slot machines, but what about, you know, people who are competitors in a game that involves some sort of like skill set? You know what I mean?
I'm cool with that. I think that's fine.
Like
otherwise you can never bet.
You know, poker. I mean, I know that like roulette is basically down to random chance in a way, but like I think that you can strategically hedge bets and stuff to produce better outcomes and stuff, which is my game. But you know, I don't know. I'll just say that like if there's no skill to it, then I have insane luck at roulette because I pretty much always win.
But I always win a Monopoly, so that has nothing to do with it.
See, that's like thought of as having like a skill set, right?
Yeah.
Plus, you know,
for me, the thing that really gets me about gambling for me is I think that humans, like biologically, have a very poor understanding of probability in an abstract because it's not something we evolved to understand, much in the same way that counting linearly isn't something that we biologically understand. We have to be taught it. Otherwise, we count in like
finance alone, too, is just like not supernatural for us.
We have to be taught this stuff. But even if you're taught it, that never means that it intuitively makes sense. Humans will constantly over and under evaluate probabilities. So for me,
think about how a magician can just like use the shortcomings of your brain to create all sorts of mind. Oh, that doesn't make sense. It's like, well, you're just being tricked.
Yeah. Or if I, for example, turned to my camera and said like, hello, you know, Joseph, maybe you should get back to the homework that you're postponing, then statistically, there's a non-zero possibility that somebody watching is going to be freaked out, maybe even multiple people. And if one of those people is a little superstitious, they might believe, like, humans just aren't that great in understanding this stuff. So the thing that gets me is slots and roulettes and other systems that can be weighted to mathematically always favor the house.
Well, here's the thing, though, too, is like, at least when this stuff is legal, there's like some sort of ability to regulate it. Whereas, you know, traditionally, in places where gambling has been prohibited, it ultimately ends up funding, you know, organized crime.
That's
right?
True. I wonder how significantly the legalization of gambling across the country would, because pretty much all the gambling revenue that we generate in this country comes from Las Vegas. I mean, that's like the big place, you know, and gambling isn't legal in a lot of the US, but I wonder if gambling was shut down altogether, apart from the economic devastation Los Angeles would, or Las Vegas would experience. I wonder like how much of a real
you ever notice you watch older movies and stuff, you see a lot of stuff about like that guy's into his bookie for fucking 20 G's or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you don't really see that too much anymore because no one has to have like a bookie and shit anymore.
Bookies weren't for that kind of gambling though, right? It'd be like horse races and stuff.
Sports gambling.
Yeah, sports gambling.
But like, I mean, the point is that people are going to find some way to gamble because it's like there is some inclination in human beings, like the idea of risk some, but for the possibility of getting so much more. People are just inherently attracted to the idea, and they feel that they get like so high on the fantasy of it. But you know, like we have like a real-time social experiment. I did an episode of Deep Fat Friday. It hasn't come out yet. I think it comes out in 2 weeks about the Yakuza. And, you know, one of their big sources of revenue was gambling. They had, you know, especially there was like a specific clan of the Yakuza that relied very heavily on gambling trade. And, but, you know, it's all underground. And that funded a lot of their, you know, organized crime and their activities and shit. But then Japan kind of gave people a few legal outlets to gamble. I think they actually instituted a state lottery and some other stuff. And
Pachinko machines are essentially gambling, but they're not registered as a gambling device in
I gotcha.
in Japan. So that's how they get around it.
Right. But anyway, basically, like, it's one of the things that's siphoned off a shit ton of revenue from the Yakuza and why their numbers are it's not the only reason. There's a few other factors as well. But one of the things that's really undercut their power in Japanese society to where I think there's under 20,000 Yakuza now, where they used to be like 160,000.
Can I tell you a story about that, actually?
Sure.
I've gone to Japan once. I went with a friend of mine, a woman, and I had a really, really good time. We were walking around one of the districts south of Tokyo, which is where we were staying, when we encountered an honest to God red light district, which, you always hear about red light districts in media, and it's kind of like a fanciful term, but this was an actual red light district. With there was literally like a big open alleyway, maybe 20 meters wide, with a gigantic one of those Kanto gates, those big Japanese gates, with like red lights and everything. I mean, it was very, very clear what it was. It was nighttime, but it was also very busy, so we decided to walk down. And it was one of the most interesting experiences I've ever had in my life, because it was the first time and only time I've ever seen organized crime. Because the Yakuza were everywhere. There were all black limousines and black vans with dark tinted windows full of men in dark suits with serious, like, facial expressions, sometimes with tattoos that went past their neckline. They were everywhere. I mean, just like the whole place down. And in the center of the road, there were, I think, Nigerian men. Apparently, the Yakuza hire foreigners to do shouting for them, because Japanese men tend not to shout. They don't like shouting very loud, I guess. It's just a cultural thing, but they get foreigners, and these guys were like yelling at us. They yelled to my friend. They were like, "Oh, you're so pretty. You would like this place, You're so nice. You should go here, man. You're a white man, right?" Like that kind, like, stuff like that. And
Right.
my friend is drunk beyond belief, like pissed, and I am sober. But I think, like, in retro, like, this is probably not the safest place to be dragging her along, because, I mean, even if it's populated, this is like a very obviously Yakuza controlled area. But she pushes me to go into one of the establishments, and I guess I kind of want to see too. So I step on in there, and there's a door you open, and you lead into a room that's no smaller than an elevator. And on the other side of this elevator-sized room, there are a bunch of curtains and a desk in front of them with two guys behind it, both obviously Yakuza. And one of them looks at me and holds up this big, like, poster board with a bunch of women's faces on it. They're sex workers, with, like, yen underneath all of them. And it's, like, pointing. And I'm like, I'm just looking in here, and he doesn't speak English, so he's just like pointing, like kind of irritated looking. And I'm like, never mind, I think I'm gonna go. And I like turn around, and my dipshit friend is pulling at my arm, going, "You pussy, you should fuck them." And I have to like drag her out of the place. And anyway, I read up on all this later, and we got out, we're fine. But I read up on this place later, and apparently this is one of the very, very, very few industries where the Yakuza have some kind of like wedge of control, because, like you said, they've been aggressively driven out, sometimes like in almost militarized police raids, from almost every other industry. And now what is left of the Japanese prostitution industry, they have a huge stake in, because it's one of the few things they have a hold on.
Okay. Yeah. And a lot of times, if you'd stayed, you would have definitely ended up getting shaken down, because they tend to do that to tourists. They'll basically, you go in there, even if you were just there for like, I'm just gonna drink or whatever. I don't know if there was a bar area too, but you're gonna be overcharged for pretty much everything.
Oh yeah,
whatever the price listed on the girls.
There are Japanese
tourists. Going to turn out to not be the real price.
There are Japanese tourist warnings for those areas. They're like, "Hey, Japan's super safe, but," and then they list like a couple of stuff, and that area was one of the, like, it fit under the purview.
Well, Japan is not as safe as people think either, because like a lot of times murders in Japan are like written up as accidents if there's any possible way to do that, so
suicide to the back of the head twice. Yeah.
Right. That kind of thing. Very like Epstein-y suicides. So overpopulation, I'm told we disagree on. I don't know that we do, because I've never actually heard you talk about it, but I've heard people say that you don't believe in overpopulation, or you think it's a myth, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it's a thing. I think that based on the projections we have right now for all the world's developing countries, it seems like they're going to level off before we reach anywhere near the Earth's population cap. That even like at current projected rates, we would still fall below the amount of people that we could sustain with the food growing technology we have right now. It's just a distribution problem.
Right. What about the like carbon footprints that people, like, obviously a human being, even just one human being, has like a tremendous sort of impact on like CO2 usage and stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean,
not usage, but like the amount of pollutants that they introduce into like any ecosystem.
It's more about the tech than the people, right? one American will release more, will have a larger carbon footprint than 100 people living in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So
Sure.
or maybe even 1,000 actually. I guess
But
that's
like
possible.
really, like we're trying to like, I mean, we're trying to lift those people up though, right? You know,
Yeah.
we're not trying. So like, eventually, I mean, unless you're talking about, I mean, I'm sure you do want to switch to like greener and greener technology, as I do as well.
It'd be
But
cool.
I mean, like, we don't have that now. So as those countries become more industrialized, you know, they tend to have larger and larger sort of carbon footprints and other pollutants as well.
Well, to me, I think the big goal here. So some of this conversation feels a bit unfair because we got like a head start, right? The West got to develop and industrialize hundreds of years ago, so we got to belch all the carbon in the air. We had our cities choked with the pollution from cars driving around, and then we regulated it out, and now we're, you know, a little bit better about it, at least relative to the process we had to go through. But like all these other countries, like they need that coal too. They need to go through that process. I think what we need to do is accept that we got a head start. It's allowed us to enjoy unprecedented like levels of you know, quality of life, and now it's time to pay it back. I think we should be paying trillions out to invest in green energy infrastructure for the rest of the world. Like we should be paying them to use it, or we should subsidize them so heavily that it's cheaper for them to be building hydroelectric dams and wind farms than it would be for them to just use oil and coal like the rest of us did.
Right, but you know, I feel like the problem is that we're not even transitioned to that yet. And
we could though. If we put the money towards it, we absolutely could right now.
And then I'm concerned too about like the land that we have now. I mean, like so much of the West Coast, unless these drought conditions start to reverse from like the catastrophic drought levels that we're seeing now. I mean, a huge amount of our food is grown in California, and their water's low. I think something like it's an insane amount of fucking produce that comes from that state. It's like a gigantic portion. We have underwater reservoirs in like Kansas that are diminishing quick. That's another place where a lot of our food is grown.
You know where most of our food goes, though?
The garbage.
The stomachs of cattle. Seriously, 41%.
Well, I mean, even of the food that that is produced, like a lot of it goes to waste.
Oh no, for sure.
Doesn't even feed cattle or anything. Just goes right to the trash.
But of all the land in the United States, about 40% of it is used to produce feed for livestock. 40%, not of farmland, but of all land.
I took a road trip from Louisiana to Colorado a few months back, and I can tell you, like most of it is cattle everywhere.
Well, we don't need that much meat, I don't think. Here, wait, hold on. I'm just showing this chat real quick. The by far the largest proportion of the land in our country is used for cow pastures and ranges and livestock feed, which is right over here. The food we eat for this little graph, that's this little rectangle, chat, if you can see. And then here's what we feed. The thermodynamics on this are just not smart. We probably shouldn't be eating this much damn meat, you know?
Yeah, and then there's a lot of other problems. Like if you drive through California, which I did recently, there's like, you see a lot of the farmers there want to dam up all the rivers to keep the water from leaving into the oceans. Basically just want to disrupt the water cycle. That's their solution to the drought. You know, there's like, I don't know. And then there's like a lot of crops there that are not even picked because they don't want it to affect prices. So they pay farmers to grow it, but not, you know, pick it or give it to anybody because they want to make sure to control, you know, do price controls and things like that. And then there's a lot of crops that are just like not water efficient. Like there's a ton of, remember it's walnuts or some kind of nut that they grow in like insane abundance. I think it's almonds.
Yes, almonds are incredibly
insanely water intensive crop.
Yeah.
But they're just like tons of almond fields all throughout California, even though they're in perpetual drought. I mean, like we do stupid things, but the problem is like, I get, but it seems like the argument you're making for why overpopulation isn't a problem is because if we were smarter, it wouldn't be a problem, but we're not smarter.
Well, the thing is, fixing overpopulation wouldn't fix all the problems we're talking about right now. Even if we could halt the human population at exactly what it is right now, every issue we're facing is still going to fuck us. So it seems like the overpopulation is a red herring, if anything. It does increase the number of mouths that we need to feed, but also, realistically, it increases the labor force of the earth, the number of people who can research, invest, who can develop, maintain, and staff wind farms and hydroelectric dams. We just need to direct that labor in a productive way.
Every person represents more resources consumed, though.
And produced.
That's more,
and it's not a zero-sum game.
I mean, well, something. I mean, it does. It means more stuff is produced in some respects, but it also means more stuff is used up.
Sure, but as long as that stuff that we're using up is sustainable agriculture, then we're set. I mean, we can make an infinite
agriculturally.
Amount of that if we need.
Yeah, I mean, some of the agricultural stuff, but like, we know that there's going to be water wars in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have the vice president pretty much admitting as much. We know that drought conditions are getting worse all over the planet. We know that there's going to be massive migrations.
But we can fix these problems too. I don't feel we have a right to complain about the population of the developing world when, like, everything we're talking about, we make no effort to fix ourselves. For water use in the United States, why do we let people have lawns? Like, seriously, water is like an actual vital resource in this country, and we let people waste it on an ugly patch of trimmed grass in front of their lawns? Like, how much... Wait, hold on. How much water used for... I don't actually know this. Maintenance...
I mean, it's got to be insane, especially in climates that are not even very water rich.
States. More than outdoor water use in the United States, more than half of which is used for watering lawns and gardens. Nationwide landscape irrigation is estimated to account for... Oh, I'm going to have to read this for a second. Oh, goodness. Why save water outdoors? Water sense label. What is this? Outdoor use. Nationwide, 1/3 of all... I'll continue to work on this. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to get at is it just there are so many issues, but it's like the thing that I'm concerned about is that we're going to do to overpopulation the same thing we did to immigrants, you know? Wages are being depressed, jobs are becoming harder to find, you know, things are getting outsourced. Who's to blame? And obviously it's the business owners, but then they blame immigrants, right? And then it's like, we can't feed our people, the climate's getting worse, we don't have enough clean water, who's to blame? And then rather than blame the developing world who consume per person a fraction of what we do, carbon-wise, I think we should do everything we can to subsidize the growth of the world. And I think we can do that. I mean, we're capable of it mathematically. I don't know if we have the political capital to do it.
Well, that's my concern, is like, it all sounds really nice in the context of us, you know, ceasing our stupid ways and doing things that make sense, but I don't feel like we're on that road. And I would agree with you that, like, holding up overpopulation as like, this is the root of our issues is, you know, not really productive, because it's not the core thing that's really affecting it. And I think we can acknowledge that. But at the same time, I do think that with the lifestyle that humankind has developed, especially here in like the developed world or the first world or whatever the fucking term is at this point, you know, I feel like when we've set that precedent of like, this is the wasteful existence we're going to live with, these like temporary, you know, single-use plastics and, you know, whatever the fuck else we got going on, and are just like wasteful usage of water, wasteful usage of food, not just on a personal individual level, but on like a system-wide level. Like, overpopulation in that context, I think, is a problem. And, you know, I think we're seeing some of the fucking results of that problem in the forms of the climate change that's happening, which is going to make the problem worse, because we have more and more people that are expected to exist on less and less space.
We got plenty of space on Earth, though. America's like super population,
very spacious. But like, the question is not just like, hey, I mean, I could fit. How many people could you fit in your house, right? But would it be sustainable to have that many people in there just because you could fit them physically? No, there's resources. They're resource drained at a certain point.
I think it's just,
and there's so many resources on this planet that are finite.
It's undeniable.
Fresh water is one of them, unless you talk about desalination, which is not there yet technologically.
We can invest in it more. It's undeniable that these are issues to be concerned about. The issue is, like, in terms of what we can do about it politically, the only thing you can do to depress the population of developing countries is to wage war on them and just set the problem back.
Why just developing countries? I mean, like, every country.
Well,
developing
just
or not.
it seems
Developing,
like
developed.
whatever whatever solutions we could apply to fix the problem at our current population rate would also solve the problem at a higher population rate, where we level off at 10 or 11 billion.
Sure.
So it seems like we should just focus on that, right?
I feel like, you know, I feel like one thing we could do, if you really want to, like, I don't even necessarily have policy prescriptions.
I did the math, by the way. About 1/5 of the clean water in the United States goes towards lawn maintenance, which is insane
disgusting.
to me. Yeah.
You should figure out something else to do with it. If you're gonna fucking grow something in your lawn, grow vegetables or something that's actually useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, I would just say, like, maybe just have try to change the culture to where it's not necessarily looked on as like there's like a very like reproduce, you know. Like, it doesn't need to be romanticized to the extent that it is. I feel like a lot of people end up having kids that shouldn't, because it's just not for them, but they feel compelled to by society's expectations, as well as you know, obviously a certain degree of a biological imperative to reproduce. But you know, I think it's overly romanticized, and I feel like there's a lot of instances, like, you know, I never felt happier than when I saw little Jimmy be born, or whatever the fuck, you know, and all this, like, it's changed my life being a dad. Maybe for some people that's true, but like, I think that expectation and the permeation of that, I don't know. And I know that it's kind of like what they want, right? That's why abortion has been made the issue that it is, you know. That's why this whole like pro-life mentality took root, you know, because it's more consumers need a larger and larger consumer base to fuel more and more profit for ourselves, right?
Oh, I'm totally fine with having a higher population. More people does mean a better economy, and it does mean that we can better compound whatever efficiencies we get from having more people working on more projects. Right now, the U.S. birth rate seems to be at about 1.7 births per woman, which is below replacement rate by about 0.4. We only shore up that difference because we take in so many immigrants. I think in terms of like,
which I'm fine taking on the immigrants.
Yeah, yeah. I think in terms of addressing this, like, it feels like the birth rate in developed countries are already pretty low. They might, in fact, be low enough that we have a serious problem.
If you're talking about things leveling off, then you can't have the idea that eventually everything's going to level off and we're going to be fine, because we're not going to get anywhere near the numbers that are going to be needed to like cause like the ecological collapse, which I think is estimated, at least by some of the experts I've read, at like 11 billion people.
We could sustain 11 billion people with current technology.
11 billion is pretty much the limit, from my understanding. That's like the carrying capacity of the Earth as far as like what infrastructurally could be supported.
I think it really depends on what
at least according to like
dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, you know, technological fucking advances could obviously change the number higher, but
what we know, I just wonder what we're limited by.
There has to be an upper limit, though. So
eventually, yes.
If you have an economy that's based on perpetual growth, then you know you're going to reach a point where that is inevitably going to fail. There has to be something. There has to be an idea that's more stable. There has to be an idea that doesn't need constant population growth in order to sustain itself.
In terms of like where these resources are being committed to, I know food's not an issue because, again, like 3/4 of all of the farmable land on Earth is being used for livestock feed, and meat makes up a very small portion globally of the calories we consume. So if we reduced our meat consumption and spent more of that land producing fruits and vegetables and grains and potatoes and shit, then we could easily feed far more than 10 or 11 million people. We could probably go well up to 20 with like existing technology and stuff. Yeah, just for food-wise, right? With water, we have to make sure the climate's kept clean, which, I mean, that's a larger issue. But in terms of our global footprint, I feel like I feel like the population.
I mean, we're looking down the barrel of some pretty
issues.
We're looking down the barrel of some pretty bad water shortages right now. So
that's
I mean, So I mean,
like
population reduction is one. I mean, it is with our current lifestyle habits.
Right, but we can change those lifestyle habits. We can't really change the growing population. we're already domestically at a below replacement rate for our birth rate, which will cause problems in the future too. We can't rely on immigration forever, and eventually we're going to have these cyclical booms of like welfare sustainability for older people when they fall out of the workforce. You want a pretty like steady rate of growth, which is why China's about to have a serious fucking problem when its gigantic population boom enters retirement age. So I think that
right, but even if you don't think it's happening now, eventually that growth rate is going to come up against the reality of carrying capacity. Whether you think that's 20 billion, 30 billion, or whatever it is, like there's going to come a point where the Earth simply cannot sustain these people, and then it's either we have to like work on some sort of terraforming project, colonizing space, using resources beyond the limits of the Earth, or we have to figure out some way to be sustainable at a lower population without needing perpetual growth.
Because it seems like all the industrialized countries of the world keep converging at the exact same, like just below replacement birth rate, right?
Right, but yeah, I mean, it does seem like once you industrialize, birth rates decline, probably as people get a little bit more educated and start to pursue maybe like their interests rather than not everyone's actually interested in fucking raising kids, having a family, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you know, as people realize more options are open to them, that they kind of like some of them make different choices. But you know what I'm saying is that if you have an economy that's based on perpetual growth, eventually you're going to have to figure out a way to maintain that economy without the perpetual growth.
You know, I'm not going to disagree with that. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking right now. Right now, the United States, Iran, Brazil, China, Canada, Thailand, Italy, and Japan, and a few other countries too. They're all below the global replacement fertility rate. The UN projection for around 2,100 puts basically every country on Earth, apart from Zambia, which I think is like the most underdeveloped country. So I think Zambia is a little fucky wucky right now, to be honest with you. Everyone else is below that rate. So I think this is one of those issues that'll solve itself. The thing that concerns me is that it's possible that a different economic system might not have the suppressive force on birth rates that capitalism does. Maybe it's not capitalism and the modern like workday that makes people or sorry, maybe it's not industrialization that lowers birth rates. Maybe it's like the relationship we have to our work. And if we had a more democratic economy, it would encourage people to have more kids because they would have more time to spend with them.
That's true. And some people say it's like when women have more reproductive rights, they choose, you know, different paths, and you know, we have better access to contraception and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people just realize that like kids aren't for them. Like they're just, you know, like I feel like if you're in a certain societies, it's more like the expectation of having children is like a lot higher of a benchmark, like
and more
within like a certain
too.
context. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, but you know, as a society becomes more industrialized, you kind of like start to have more access to information, and women tend to have more rights over their body in those circumstances. Although I know we're having a lot of people try to chip away at those in this country. Yeah, like why? Let's regress. I don't know.
Maybe one day we will completely depersonalize the project of childbirth, you know? Maybe it'll just be like, you know, you have sperm that's donated and you have artificial wombs with like seeded eggs.
I saw someone on Twitter the other day say that if they try to start producing children in artificial wombs, then they'd fight a civil war against it or whatever. So, I don't know.
Well, people are very emotionally attached to the way that we do birth right now. But hypothetically, and maybe this wouldn't work right now, hypothetically, the idea of like a future where you do have to keep population more or less in a given range, then, you know, you don't give birth by fucking. Fucking's for fun and for spreading disease, of course. Instead, you know, there are just like regions like produce children and like in accordance with the needs of the society, and B, in accordance with if there are people nearby willing to take them in. Like you'd submit, you know, like, hey, yeah, if there are any kids popping out sometime in the future, I'd like some. And you, with your gay polycule of 12 queers, raise some vat-grown child. I don't know if that would negatively impact the human life experience. I'm not really sure. It's just kind of a sci-fi concept, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to fathom. So another thing that I wanted to disagree with you on is nihilism.
Oh no.
I hear you use nihilism as a pejorative a lot.
Okay, I'm a big fan of absurdism and existentialism. When I say nihilism, well,
right.
I mean it in the colloquial sense, where I feel like people stop caring about things and they just adopt this like pretense of of completely morally disinterested perspective.
Well, I feel like that that could easily be what you take from nihilism, but I mean, like, nihilism, as I understand it, is really just it's to me an extension of atheism, where there's no God in their universe, there's no objective meaning to existence, and that to me is nihilism. Just like I don't believe in the concept of external meaning, that the universe somehow has a standard or arbitrates some prescribed way to behave or some prescribed goal for my existence.
I think I know that nihilism has a lot of definitions philosophically and colloquially. The difference that I always understood it to mean was that existentialism and absurdism, which are kind of derivative from nihilism, believe that the universe is absurd, but we give meaning to it, or we have to find meaning in it, or essentially that meaning is a democratized concept. It's something individual, it's personalized, it's subjective.
Sure,
we build it. Whereas nihilism is the rejection of meaning existing at all, meaning that not only is there no existential meaning, you can't make it for yourself either. It just there simply cannot be any. Meaning is a meaningless concept.
I understand nihilism more as a I don't know, as the first step towards absurdism or existentialism being even feasible, because you have to reject the idea of a divine or objective or whatever word you want to use meaning before you can embrace the idea that you create your own meaning and that it's just a personal thing that exists, within you, or maybe intersubjectively in a certain context.
I have to be really careful talking about this, because I know that if I say anything like that sounds authoritative or definitive, I'm going to get emails from philosophy grads telling me that I have personally ruined their field and that they'll be coming to kill me now.
They have no more dominion over those words than any of us, so
not over the meaning of the words, but possibly an understanding of how they work. Philosophy.
I mean, we're talking about like every concept. It actually has to be fleshed out. You can't. This is why labels just suck as shorthands for things, because they don't encapsulate everyone's understanding, and we're not all going to have the same understanding of a term.
For me, it's about the argument that you can make, right? I've talked to a number of people who are either philosophers or philosophy graduate students in my email, because sometimes it comes up from time to time. And I find the definitions incredibly boring to go over, because, like, oh god, reading the Stanford Plato fucking dictionary, it's like, oh, well, all right, well, if you're a utilitarian, then you can do this or that, but you also have to understand that, well, there are the non-contradictionists and the pro-contradict, and it's like basically like a historical outline of all the arguments that have happened between prominent philosophical groups. But to me, what I really like is the arguments, You can set all the jargon aside and just talk about like the fundamental issue at hand.
But it's way easier to just say, like, Vaush doesn't understand utilitarianism. Vaush is stupid. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, one of those things is true. You do have to be able to make a good argument. There's nothing more frustrating to me. I remember I had an argument with some like philosophy deuterino like a year and a half ago, and I am, I guess, what you might call a moral anti-realist and an an epistemic anti-realist. My idea is that there is no one universal form of truth. That truth is something you have to presuppose, and that presupposition can be arbitrary, even if some presuppositions are much shakier than others. And I talked with someone who was apparently more educated on philosophy on me, and they got mad at me, and they argued that I was like, what was it? That I am saying that the Holocaust didn't happen or something. It was some. Right, it was something like that. I forget the details.
Crazy hyperbolic fucking place, so
I forget the details. I don't know. I think that philosophy is interesting. It's always something that I'm down to learn a little more about, even if I don't always, really get it.
It's messy. I just wish you wouldn't use nihilism as a pejorative, because to me,
I'll try to use it better. I'll be better.
To me, it's just like the embrace of the idea that there's no objective meaning in the universe. And I think that that's an important thing. And I think it goes, I don't really feel like it's contradictory to what you've said, but I get that you're trying to make it more of just like about like a sort of edgy rejection of like, I don't care about nothing sort of mentality.
But there are certainly people who take that from the philosophy, though, right? Like there are,
right, sure.
Right,
I mean, but
right,
like to me, it's like, I mean, you can take a fact, and to me, the universe having no objective meaning is a fact in the same way that there being no God is a fact. It's just like there's no evidence to support it, so there's no reason to believe it.
I don't think we can make comments on the metaphysical, right? I don't know. We can't prove God doesn't exist. It's more of a like the metaphysical by definition can't be proven. So like commenting on whether or not it's real seems like kind of a waste
unfalsifiable hypothesis. Therefore, who knows? But to me, meaning in the way that it's described by certain people is an unfalsifiable hypothesis. Now, my personal sense of meaning is a demonstrable fact. Do I feel as if certain things in my life have meaning? Sure, I do, and so does everybody. But if I choose to look at the lack of objective meaning in the universe and use that, and my reaction to that is, well, then fuck existence and I hate life and whatever, then that's my business, I guess. Seems like a kind of a waste of that revelation to me. But I'd rather pursue something a little bit more interesting with it. I mean, like the fact that there's no objective meaning means that you have power over what meaning is in your own existence, which kind of makes you your own God to an extent, which to me is way more appealing than just like moping around and being depressed about it. It seems like something to celebrate.
There's a Satanist philosophy, I think, that adopts that idea, the idea that everyone is their own God or something like that.
Yeah. LaVeyan style Satanism.
Is that it? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. The Anton LaVey style. Basically, that dude was it was pretty much a con man. But
he was a little bit of a Joker character himself, for sure. But
I mean, he had kind of a wry sense of humor about what he was doing, and I think that anyone who goes around calling themselves a Satanist kind of has to. I love the Satanic Temple. I prefer them over the Church of Satan because they're more of a political activist thing, and they use all these laws that Christians try to pass to get a leg up for their own, social conventions.
Right, yeah.
Right, and they're just like, well, okay, if you guys can do a prayer, then we can do a prayer. If you
by
guys
the way,
can have a statue, then we can have a statue.
Absolutely, okay.
We need
like churches to like Marx or something where we're getting away with that shit, Yeah, absolutely, we don't have to pay taxes. We're a fucking church. Hey, yeah, absolutely, we get to protest and demonstrate here. Yeah, absolutely, we're a church, motherfucker. Now here, read this book. That would be a good use of time.
I love that they said that the abortion pill was part of their like sacrament, and that they were trying to get the religious exemption for that. I don't know how that legal case is going.
That would slap. Oh wait, hold on. Oh wait, because I'll forget. Do you know the game Outer Wilds?
No.
Okay. Just based on what we've been talking about for the past hour and a half, I feel like you would really enjoy it. It's a very cool game, and I think it touches at least tangentially on a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. So I think you'd enjoy it.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out. Outer Wilds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not much of a gamer, to be honest with you, but I try. I always hear about something that's good, and I'm like, maybe, and then I don't. I got a few more things if you got time, but
I got till the hour.
All right, cool.
My fans who donated are getting fucked again, but that's okay. I like it when they're sad. It makes me happy.
Poor Dono fans.
Yeah.
I would have them read it, but anyway. So I don't know how you feel about it, but someone wanted me to talk to you about how you feel about bicycles and bicyclists, because I controversially hate them.
Okay,
but maybe you like them. I don't know.
So here's the thing. Okay, when I'm driving, I despise bicyclists with all my heart. I hate them, and I want them to die by my wheel or another's, okay? But when I'm sitting in my computer chair reading about how destructive car-centric infrastructure is in the United States, I am so pro bicycle that I just wish a fleet of them would roll across the country, flattening all car-based infrastructure beneath their little their little baby bicycle wheels, you know? There's a YouTube channel called Not Just Bikes that I'm rather fond of. And one of the things I talk about a lot is like the destruction of local community. Because right in America, especially if you're in the suburb, you know, and you want to go anywhere, it's like a day trip. You have to get in the car and drive over there, and you just go to the place and then come back. But that's not how it used to be. It used to be that cities were all mixed zoning. You could walk outside, and there's a coffee shop, you know, a grocery store, a market, all within literally 500 feet of you. You could just walk there. But that's not how American cities are built now. They're built very separated, very car-centric. Exactly. Yeah. And it's inefficient. It's destructive to the environment and to our health and to our mental health. It bankrupts cities because the infrastructure you have to pay on maintaining that massive road network is astronomical. And when I'm reading on all of this, and then I look at what they have in the Netherlands, oh my God, the walkability of the Netherlands. This is an objectively better way to live.
I mean, I was in the Netherlands, and certain people there do have cars, but they're much smaller and they're much less common. You do see a lot of bicyclists there. And honestly, even in a bike-centric culture, which I don't think you get more bike-centric than the Netherlands, bikes are fucking annoying. There's something about being on a bicycle that just makes a person act obliviously. They refuse to obey any traffic law. They're always in your way, and they always feel like entitled to every space everywhere on the road at any given time. I hate them, but
I feel like it's a cultural thing, right? When I drove in San Francisco for the first time, I was astonished at how egregiously fucking careless the pedestrians are. When I was driving around, San Francisco pedestrians are lunatics. I don't know what the fucking invulnerability pills they thought they swallowed that morning, but these fuckers will literally walk out from behind a car through a road that is actively being driven upon, just assuming that there's no car around the corner to hit them. And I was astonished by this behavior. But after a while, I learned that because San Francisco is so hilly and it has a functioning metro car system, they actually expect lower average car speeds. And for that reason, the pedestrians are bolder over there. Also, Not Just Bikes just showed up in chat. Hey, love your videos.
Damn bikes. Anyway, I hate
TJ hates bikes. Sorry, but we'll
sorry.
Yeah, we'll try to bike pill him eventually.
I don't really hate bikes. I just hate bicyclists. I don't know. Something about riding on a bike just turns a person into a fucking lunatic. That just like you're literally on a couple of pipes with some wheels on it, and you're just like, I can easily share the same road with these giant combustion-powered machines. Like, no.
Do you think it's
not feasible?
Their cunty outfits, like the helmets plus those form-fitting like neon 100%. Green. Yeah, okay. I will admit that those outfits do.
Now we're talking about a person who's riding a bike because they can't afford a car, I guess, or if they're just like very health conscious. But like some of these people, I don't know, they're horrible. But
I haven't biked in ages. I'd probably fall off. I've probably forgotten how to do it. Oh God.
Well, that's like isn't that the stereotypical thing you never forget though?
Yeah, and I think they might be wrong. People used to ride bikes in America. Not anymore, though. Jesus, it's dangerous.
But anyway, yeah, I'm probably pissing a bunch of people off because every time I ever fucking have that take, people get pissed. But Rick and Morty, we disagree on that, I guess.
Can't just drop Rick and Morty on me. An hour and 44 minutes into the convo.
Maybe save that for next time.
Did I make one too many Pickle Rick jokes? What was your take on Rick and Morty?
I don't know. I just heard you weren't feeling like some of the newer seasons and shit, and I still think it's great. So
the thing is, a season of Rick and Morty, even a worse one like season 3, is still better than almost any other animated adult television you're going to get. I do acknowledge that. It's just the show started with such this bold anarchic vision, and now they were in fucking Space Jam 2. And it just makes me angry. It's like season after season. And I'm not saying that I have a problem with good things succeeding. I'm glad that good things succeed. It's just like there was something about the show that feels like it was so cynical, and now it's cynical in the opposite direction, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's become more mainstream and shit. And, you know, obviously I mean, like Rick and Morty sold out pretty goddamn quick though.
Yeah,
Like,
they're in Fortnite.
Pretty much the second that like advertising opportunities came their way, they just like accepted every single one of them. Like, yeah, Wendy's, okay, sure, get the Baconator or whatever the fuck. Carl's Jr., yep, we'll hawk your burgers too. They don't care. I mean, they pretty much did it right from the start. So, like, you know,
I guess it's in character for Rick. That does indeed seem like
he just doesn't care, you know. But
it's good stuff. The season finale for season 5, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very well written. It felt like
I guess we don't disagree that bad then.
Yeah, okay.
But so someone wanted me to ask you about UBI and whether or not that should be a thing.
I'm pro UBI. I just don't like Yang. I'm pro UBI. I'm here for it.
I mean, I didn't even fucking mention no damn Yang, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Yang. I mean, brings it up. But I said I have a problem with Yang. So people are like, hey, you have a problem with UBI? I have a problem.
I have more of a problem with Yang over time. Like, I read the platform of his Forward Party, and I'm just like, this party sucks.
Yes, yeah,
this is lame.
They're like, yeah, dude, we'll be the bipartisan party, and we'll do it by not listing any policies that anyone cares about. That way, no one can get mad at us.
It just seemed to me like Andrew Yang took a good hard look around, and I tweeted this basically. Took a good hard look around the country and was like, you know what's the answer? Radical centrism. It's like, what? How do you possibly look at what's going on now and just think like centrism? What's what we need? We need to be in the center, not even the real center, just like in the center between Democrats and Republicans, I guess, which are already too goddamn close and
and already too far to the right. Yeah, exactly. You know what's going to be the worst day?
You're not exactly breaking the mold here, Andrew. I don't know.
The worst day for any left-leaning person in America is going to be a little while from now. This is inevitably going to happen, and it's going to be morally devastating. Okay, Elon Musk is going to endorse Andrew Yang's Forward Party, and social media is going to be insufferable, unbearable for weeks afterwards. It's going to be a tire fire that's just going to stretch across the planet. There's going to be no escape from it.
Yeah, because like I remember when I first saw Andrew Yang, I was kind of like, huh, interesting. And then each successive time I saw him, it got less and less interesting to the point where now it's very not interesting.
That's because he's a technocrat. Now, I thought that his UBI proposal was part of a kind of odd, politically dissonant, but still radically progressive step to address real economic problems for working Americans. But it wasn't. The UBI was really all he had to say. And even then, initially, those UBI payments were discounted from whatever welfare money you already take. So if you're ultra poor, the UBI does nothing for you. It literally targets the most needy group the least. And it's not part of a broader project.
It just seemed to me like it was like a life support system to keep, like, you know, you see these late stage capitalism memes. It's like he was trying to like put capitalism on a little life support system. Like, damn, people, this wealth disparity. We've got to fucking somehow give the consumer base some spending money to keep this shit going.
We are literally going to arrive at a position where all of our unmatched productive capacity is fulfilled by about 50% of the workforce. The remaining 50% will have no way of getting jobs. They'll be paid a threadbare UBI, and people will look at this and think, yes, this is normal. All of our billionaires will become trillionaires, and no politician will think to ask, how did our system somehow become more efficient and also poorer? How did that in what system can you automate a process which by definition increases its efficiency, and then somehow the poverty rate goes up after that, and nobody will question it? And Yang doesn't want to question it. Yang doesn't talk about that. He talks about automation like it's some inevitable mechanical force that we just have to cope with and deal with, rather than an uplifting, liberating thing, which is only potentially threatening because of who is in control of those automative processes.
This was actually a huge part of the conversation I had with Demon Mama yesterday about automation and robotics and AI. And like a lot of the problem with these things is not so much the technology itself, but the people that are in control of it and the way that it's going to come about in this country. Because it does have I agree with you, it has the potential to be such a tremendously liberating technology. Like when I hear like people, hey, all these jobs are gonna be automated away. It's like, good. Fuck those jobs.
It's like satellite
it's some of the most thankless fucking jobs there is. But the problem is that, the everyday person is not being brought in on those profits. It's not being like, we're talking about a society that, like you said, more productive than ever, but poorer, or at least poverty is like hugely concentrated at the bottom, and wealth is concentrated at the very, very tippy top. And we have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos fucking battling it out to see who's going to fucking win the prize of trillionaire first.
And the poor people will be rooting one side or another. Half the population is going to be rooting for Elon, and the other half is going to be rooting for Bezos. And they'll be very invested in it, and people will lose IRL friendships over the arguments between those two factions.
I mean, it's going to be like, you can almost see a future where like, it's not even so much a matter of like party loyalty, but like, which corporation are you loyal to? Which demagogue do you worship at the feet of,
Unironically, literally, actually, and unironically. I think it has the potential to be such a liberating tech, Back when the first, oh, sorry.
I mean, like, if you didn't have to, I mean, like, so many of these menial jobs like cashiers and fast food workers and stuff like that, you automate that stuff away. That stuff is just generating money, but there's nobody to fucking, the only people that are going to enjoy it are the people at the very top. You don't get a cut of that. There's no sort of like, you don't get a piece of that pie because they've spent all this time. Like, the only bargaining chip people have in this country right now, I don't know if you'd agree with me, is their labor, and I guess their complicity. You automate enough jobs away, then labor doesn't even become a big, that big of a factor anymore. It basically, the worker becomes redundant at a certain point. So, do you, as a laborer, just accept obsolescence and fade into the obscurity of death or whatever, destitution? Or do you demand a piece of the action? Because if you're going to demand a piece of the action, now's the fucking time, because the further along this gets, the harder that becomes.
100%. Yeah, it's if we always need to make sure, even if we don't have political power, that we at least have economic leverage. And if we don't have either of those things, then we don't really have any reason to exist in the eyes of the state. Right. And by we, of course, I mean the proles, not us YouTubers. Obviously, we're excitable.
There's going to come a time when the AI will replace us as well. It's just going to be like, wow, we now algorithmically can calculate what is going to be the most emotionally. I mean, that's when it's really fucking over, to be honest with you. Like when you can produce a triumph of the will for whatever political propaganda you want. And you can figure out how to manipulate people, how to speak to their interest. I mean, like, advertisers have been refining this forever. But when it comes down to like an exact science, and they figured it out, and they've mapped how to get every person, cowed in, then, it's just like, I mean, sometimes I'm convinced it's already fucking happened. Like, I'll watch these movies, and it's like, they rose up against the oppressive capitalist system and overthrew it, and now justice reigns supreme in the land. It's like, wow, that's kind of a cool message. And then it's like, brought to you by Amazon. It's like,
yeah, capitalist realism. It gets commodified and sold back to you.
Right. So it's just like, even your little subversive thoughts that you think are so fucking dangerous is just another fucking market for them to, slap on a t-shirt. So,
not us, though. We're independent.
No
algorithm can
I have
calculate
seen beyond
our
the veil of the system. Join my Patreon, please. Subscribe to my YouTube channel.
True,
brought to you by
unironically.
Google. Like, fuck.
Or you can go to the website, just donate directly. That's how you really get them.
Yeah, that's how you fucking take it to the fucking man. That's how you fucking take it to those pigs. Support our fucking YouTube channels, please. No, I mean, I don't know. It does get depressing. I try not to get like too doomery or whatever. I like to try to believe that, that there is some sort of ability to navigate through this.
That would be nice.
That maybe there is like a positive outcome. Like, how do you feel? Like, I guess that's something I'm curious about. Maybe that could be like a good like bow on the conversation. Is what's your hope level like, Vaush? Like, not, I know you see all the ways that, you know, things could be fixed in your eyes, maybe for most issues, but like, what, you know, you talked about how people who like to gamble don't understand probability. So let's see how we understand probability. Like, what's our odds? What's humanity's odds?
It's not really about probabilities. It's just that systems don't last forever, and the autocrats above us are nowhere near as competent or well coordinated as we pretend they are. Even the most tyrannical authoritarian systems are run on incredibly thin margins. And that's the case for everything good and for everything bad. But I think that systems that are good tend to have a sturdier base. I think they're a little bit more foundationally stable because they don't require authority to prop themselves up in the same way that other countries do. Or to put it another way, democracies tend to last longer than authoritarian countries in modern world. So, with all that said, I think there are things that we have some right to be optimistic about. On almost every social issue, America is becoming significantly more progressive very, very rapidly. So that's nice. And economically, we do see a surge of strikes right now and other labor action, in addition to a increasingly fed-up population with regards to the low wages that were paid. It's true we're still in political gridlock, and I don't think we're anywhere near a solution, but I think that people have the right, at least a lot of people, have the right attitude towards these problems, which means that even if things are bad, you can be in the company of people who want a better world. And I think that ultimately is the thing we can always take some comfort in, because the greatest freedom that we have is bitching and moaning with the people next to us. That's always been it. When the state starts to quiet you down, when the state sends the troops in to keep you quiet, when you're alone in your opinions, that's the ultimate, like, despair right there. But at least as things get bad, we have the right, the ability, and the numbers to always find people around us who we can bitch with, and maybe eventually that'll lead to something, but even if it doesn't, it's better than being quiet.
Yeah, at least you have some commiseration at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to put a bow on it at that point if you are.
Oh yeah, we're 3 minutes till, so I really appreciate you coming on, man, and all of the wacky esoteric topics, like Rick and Morty that we found time to talk about.
Well, I tried to think of everything we disagreed on. I could have brought up like the kink it pride shit, but like I was like, do I really want to dredge that fucking ancient shit up? But I'm glad I didn't have to. But I did disagree with you on that as well. But
that's okay. We might end up agreeing more than
I feel like the only. Yeah, I mean, like that seems like it's typically the case. I think the only issue that today where I felt like maybe we still don't really see eye to eye is this overpopulation stuff, but maybe we could devote more time to that at some point in the future.
Well, tell you what, I'm not going to have any kids anytime soon, and you don't either. And that way, even if ideologically we may disagree, in practice we are affecting the same result.
Very true. All right, Vaush. Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you coming on my stream as well.
I'm always happy to talk with you, man.
Plug myself one more time, if that's okay.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm the Amazing Atheist, my YouTube channel there. I have a podcast, Deep Fat Fried. We have new episodes every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of every week. I'm sorry, every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday every week. I have a live show covering the news every Wednesday called Flash Fried. We do a patron-only show every Friday, so it's like pretty much all week long, new content every single week. And I also do streams over on my TG Does Life channel where I'm simultaneously streaming this VOWSH conversation right now. And those are my 3 places you can find me. You can also check me out on Twitter, where I spend way too much of my fucking time.
It's really been nice seeing you live stream lately too.
Oh, thank you.
Being my preferred medium and all that. Fucking eyelashes.
They're supposed to be, right? That's where the eyelashes belong.
Oh yeah, a little bit above it. I really appreciate you coming out. Next time we'll not fiddle so much in the DMs before actually talking. Okay.
Sure thing. And I'm gonna come kick your ass on the overpopulation thing, but I got to get some of my research in order. Then I'll destroy you.
Get your numbers ready, because I'll be doing it too. You take care. Have a good one. All right.
You too, man. Have a good one.